Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mission Compliance first ever live stream show. My name is John Connolly. I am with Mission Compliant. I'm an operations manager. I am joined today by Nathan Scott, our director, and Steven Senz, who is our compliance manager. And we are so excited to come to you live. If you are joining us live, please feel free to drop a comment into the comments bar below so that way we know you're watching. Tell us where you're from. So happy to have you here along with us live. Today, we're going to be talking about CMMC 2.0 and the CMMC 2.0 requirements that are coming for the federal government contractors, talking about the timeline. So before we get started, I was hoping we could just go around and introduce ourselves. Nathan, we'll start with you. If you can just tell folks a little bit about you and your background.
Yeah, thank you very much, John, and grateful to be here with you guys. Gosh, I've been working in compliance in some form or another for going on 15 years.
Yeah. Oh, Nathan, we lost your audio. Looks like a little bit of technical failure. Well, Nathan's working that out. Steve, do you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself? I know you've been working in the compliance and IT space for a really long time.
Yeah, so I spent 15 years doing cybersecurity assurance for federal information systems. I then transitioned to the commercial space in 2019, developed a CMMC assessment model. I joined Mission Compliance within the last couple of months, and we provide training and we provide cybersecurity assistance to people.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been a really fascinating dive for me into this because I don't have that background at all, right? So every time that we have one of these, I talk to people, I learn a little bit more, and I'm really excited to learn more today about everything that's coming with CMMC. So you got a lot of insight into this area. I'm hoping you can just give us a thumbnail of what is CMMC 2.0 and why is it important for federal contractors to be aware of it?
Certainly. So CMMC 2.0 is basically a DoD mandate that says all of the contractors that constitute their supply chain have to have a minimum amount of cybersecurity defense in depth, depending upon the information that they have. Whether it's simply federal contracting information, they can be certified at level 1, but if they have controlled unclassified information, which is not available in the public domain, they would have to be at CMMC level 2. The difference is that at level 1, you have to be fully compliant with 17 controls from NIST 171, and for CMMC 2, you have to be compliant with the full set, which is 110 controls.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's a pretty big step between level 1 and level 2.
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Let me circle back around to Nathan real quick. Sorry about the drop off there, Nathan. You all right with the hopefully we can hear you now.
No, we can't.
All right. Not hearing very much there. Sorry, Nathan.
Test 2.
Looks like cannot hear you. So, I'm gonna Nathan, while we're
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you a little bit. Yep. All right. I don't want to keep us.
Sorry, guys. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I just having technical issues with this compliant headset, and sometimes compliant things are trickier.
Absolutely.
But yeah, okay. I think we should be good now. Sorry about that.
Yep. Good. So we're talking about CMMC 2.0. And we wanted to talk about the timeline because there's this, as Steve indicated, there's different levels, and different contractors are going to have to comply with different levels of this. Could be a pretty significant lift, I would think, to become compliant. And generally mission compliant, what we're doing right now is we're trying to make the case you probably shouldn't wait until the last minute to try to become compliant with this stuff.
Yeah, and I think just kind of a very brief history here, and Stephen knows this way better than me, having helped craft some of the original NIST 800 framework back in the day. This stuff is not new. These requirements to secure covered data in information systems have been around since 2017 in DFARS Clause 7012, 252. And we've been checking the boxes as contractors for years saying we do all this stuff. But in reality, a lot of us aren't. And I think that's really the rubber hits the road. This is why we have CMMC. The government supply chain understands the need to actually prove that we're doing what we say we do and not just check the boxes anymore. So as far as the timeline goes, in theory, we should be doing this already if you're handling sensitive data with the Department of Defense. And those requirements are legally binding in your contracts right now. So pretend CMMC doesn't exist for 1 minute. And I just want to give everybody a reality check on that, because if you have a DoD contract right now with the DFARS 252 7012 clause in it, you are right now supposed to be implementing 110 security controls to protect that covered information. And so we have been seeing surprise audits and surveillance. We've been seeing supply chain risk management audits pop up. We've been seeing false claims lawsuits. So regardless of CMMC for a minute, guys, I just wanted to throw on the table, like, these are things we should already be doing and contractually have been saying we have been doing. And I just want to put that out there for brief discussion with Steve, because he, like I said, he helped write some of this stuff.
Yeah. So going on to what Nathan said, in 2015, DoD randomly pulled 500 audits on companies that said they were compliant with 7012. 494 companies failed. And so that was a wake-up call for DoD, saying we need a better mechanism to enforce compliance. That was the genesis for the CMMC mandate. Now that goes back to 2016. We're now at 2024. The mandate is finally working its way into contract law. Talking about the timeline, there are two factors for CMMC. One is Title 32, which is basically the mandate that says companies need to enforce NIST 800-171, either the 17 controls for level 1 or the 110 controls for level 2. Title 48 is the program management piece of this, which basically says if a company fails to continue to comply, what is the remedies that DoD can have against that company, which includes termination of the contract, possible false claims. But it's basically these are the remediations that DoD can apply against the company. All that needs to go into legalese language, and that is the purview of OIRA, which is the regulatory office for the government. They will take that and put that into contract law. They need to get that done sometime in the October timeframe so they can pass that to Congress. Congress needs 60 days to then approve it. Once it gets approved, it will be another 60 to 90 days before you see that in contract law in the RFP solicitations. And so the expectation is that starting in March of 2025, new solicitations from DoD will include that clause.
Now,
Having
Stephen,
said,
my understanding is this is one of the most complicated items we've seen go through the Federal Register, and we had over 800 public comments on the proposed rule. What's that look like? Do they respond to all those comments? Do they put them in buckets and respond to the buckets? How does that work?
So they did get 797 comments, of which almost 400 comments they were duplicatory, and so they have 380 unique comments, of which DoD has 90 days to provide answers to us. A lot of those difficult issues involve the fact that contractors typically outsource certain functions to other companies, MSPs, CSPs, ESPs. And so while the environment within the contractor might be secure, there is a concern, well, how secure is their external service providers? And in fairness, CMMC does not really address all of those issues. And so that's where a lot of the uncertainty comes into play.
So within 90 days, so should we expect to see some responses in the July timeframe?
Yes, correct. DoD will be answering the questions from Title 32. Title 48, companies, if they want to ask questions on the Title 48 rule, they can post those now. After the session's over, I will give you the link where to post your questions, but all of the questions for Title 32, that's now closed.
Now,
So
is there
I have a quick question here for Steve, because we were talking just a moment ago about new solicitations, right? That this is going to start being included next year sometime. We don't know exactly when, for new solicitations for DoD. How does this impact current contracts with DoD, or does it impact?
So excellent question. And so if you have an existing contract, they cannot, the government cannot terminate an existing contract because you are not compliant. However, a lot of contracts, they have extensions, a 1-year extension, a 2-year extension, so on and so forth. Those extensions at the government's behest can include a CMMC component. If that's the case, if you are not compliant, the government will give you 90 days to become compliant, or else they can determine based on your score whether or not they believe that they are at risk. Going back to the 2025 timeline, I want to make it clear, every solicitation that comes out is not going to have that clause. They are going to roll it out in pieces. And so basically in 2025, you might see 5% of the solicitations have that. But by 2027, every solicitation will contain a CMMC clause.
And again, that's all contingent on it actually being passed and finalized, which my question is, with all of those public comments and feedback, is there an opportunity for there to be additional revisions based on those comments and questions, or is that basically not likely?
It's probably not likely that once DoD answers the question, and they can also say, we don't know. This will be determined once the law becomes finalized. But right now, after the public comment, after they answer the questions, it goes into OIR A to write the final language.
So my next question really kind of hinges around, this is in motion already, right? Title 32, the public comment has closed in February, I believe. And then Title 48, what you're saying, Steve, is people can leave their comments on the rules now, correct?
Right.
Is that something that we're recommending that federal contractors working on DoD contracts review and engage with? Is that the best way to engage with this process right now?
Yes, and so there are organizations that will compile comments on behalf of their clients. But if you don't belong to an organization and you have a concern, you can post your own questions.
Okay, awesome. And then we'll share that out. I'll pop that into the comments afterwards. So those of us
Yeah.
who are signed up for this event or who are watching the recording afterward, that you can go ahead and click that and head on over and look at the rule and leave your comments on it as well. But I guess for both of you, aside from engaging with the rule process, reviewing it, leaving comments or concerns so that they can be taken into consideration, what should businesses be doing right now to become compliant or to just make sure that they will be and that their contracts are not going to be at risk?
Yeah. So ideally, every every company that does business with DoD should be doing an assessment right now to determine what their gaps are, whether they are going to be compliant with CMMC level 1, CMMC level 2. They need to know where they are deficient. Once they know where they are deficient, they should engage a subject matter expert. That's like a RPO. That can be somebody that has a good cybersecurity background. That could be a CCA, but they should be engaging with someone that understands what the requirements are, so they can work with that company to then do remediation. If you are going to be a CMMC level 1 organization, which means you are just dealing with public domain information, from the time that you do your gap until the time that you remediate everything, that's going to be about 6 months. But if you're a CMMC level 2 company, you can plan on your remediation effort, depending upon how many gaps you have, but it can take anywhere between 12 to 24 months to actually be fully compliant. And so our advice is you should be actively determining what your gaps are right now and working with people to fix those gaps.
Absolutely. It sounds like the sooner the better.
And going back to our earlier historical contractual comment, these things are in place already to do self-assessments if you're a DoD contractor, to upload your self-assessment score according to the NIST 800-171 DoD methodology. And so we should actually be doing that to be complying with the law and our contracts. And if you don't have your self-assessed score and you don't have your SPRS number, you should really be considering getting help to do that ASAP, so you don't risk having contracts pulled from under your feet.
Yeah. Are there some, I know that this varies, right? Depending on the level of information that you're managing, depending on the level of contract that you have, depending on the level of CMMC that you would need to comply with. But Steve and Nathan too, like what are there common areas that really should be focused on? Is it documentation and policy? Is it, secure backups? Is it network? Is it supply chain? What are we up against here as businesses that have federal contracts?
So it's it's everything that you mentioned, but basically what DoD is looking for is, does the company operate with cybersecurity in mind? Okay. And so that goes to, do you have policies that state we are going to operate in a secure manner to protect our information and to protect our clients? Do you have procedures that map to those policies that generate your artifacts that you can show somebody that says, we do operate in a secure manner. Here is the body of evidence to show that. A lot of people, unfortunately, think all I need to do is buy a FIPS compliant encryption mechanism, and I'm good to go. Technology is not going to solve your problem. This is a people, process, technology issue, and all three legs of that stool have to be working in sync for you to have a good cyber defense in depth.
Yeah, I think a lot about that lately too. And there's an article we put on the Mission Compliant website on the blog at missioncompliant.com. And we were talking about different attack vectors, right? Cybersecurity threats, and the human element to it is so important, because that, you're exactly right. No amount of tools are going to stop an attack from a compromised individual or an insider threat or phishing attacks that can get very sophisticated now with the rise of artificial intelligence.
Which is a kind of a stickler point for me, and I mentioned this to Steve before, why awareness and training is not part of level 1 CMMC. I would think that would be crucial to include as part of a basic cybersecurity program, and to ensure we're actually addressing that threat vector, which is, I think it's more than 90% of cyber incidents occur because of a human being being tricked, or a phishing link, social engineering scam. So as far as practical security, awareness and training is where we see the most reduction in risk overall. Because if you have Fort Knox security, but you open the back door and let the bad guy right into your infrastructure, kind of a waste of money if you have the best firewall in the universe, but you let the bad guy right in.
Yeah, there are many studies. The FBI, Verizon puts out an annual cybersecurity assessment report, but they say that by far the biggest bang for the buck is training. Yeah. Training of your personnel.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels like this is not a set it and forget it, a one and done kind of thing. It's got to be ongoing as well, to make sure that you not just are compliant, but that you're actually secure.
Yes. And to that point, training should be done incrementally over time, but like, training includes posters, it includes email, it includes just the general awareness to the staff that says you need to be alert, like as Nathan said, phishing, spam, all of that. That if you have any concerns, do not open the email, send it to your support person and say, I think this is spam. I think somebody's attacking us, but that needs to be done.
So one last question I've got, and then we'll go ahead and wrap. But if you had one big takeaway you want people who are watching this right now to take away regarding CMMC and the timeline, what's the most important thing for people to have in mind walking away from this conversation?
I think the most important thing is that it is real, and that you should be actively looking at your environment and to determine what your gaps are. If you don't act now, you are going to be on the sidelines of all the solicitations that come out. And that's not where you want to be.
Absolutely. Nathan, anything from you on this question?
I totally agree with Stephen on that. And just to point more of a point on it, that honor your contracts that you have right now. Don't be the guy that says you're doing the security and then get caught off guard, get compromised, and find yourself up a creek without a paddle. Take those agreements seriously and engage with a client or engage with a company like us that can help guide you and show you where you're at, where you need to be. And really that's where it's at, is coming up with that plan of action. And there's so much out there that's free and available to companies to start doing things right now, training being a good example. And just take these things seriously and don't be caught off guard.
Absolutely. So it looks like it's about a good time there to wrap up for the day. We're going to be doing these more frequently. You'll start seeing these come out. We're hoping about once a month to have a little chat, sit down, talk about different topics, compliance topics, security topics, training topics, all of those great things. We will have more information at our LinkedIn page for those of you who are following along at home. Don't forget to hit missioncompliant.com to go ahead and check out all the great stuff that we've got going on, blog posts and links to resources and everything like that. We're going to post the link to the public comments that we mentioned earlier in the show into the comments down here. Feel free to give us a like and follow over at Mission Compliant on LinkedIn and our other socials. But until next time, thank you so much, Steve, and thank you so much, Nathan, for joining us on the show today.
Okay.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you so much. Now take care.
Awesome. Thanks so much.